Hello, welcome back to Malls on Mission. I'm Philip,
And I'm Anna.
and this is our podcast. Are you ready for your question today? Or our question today? Or the question this day?
Who's to say? We're
That's
going
true.
on day 10 of very
Travel.
little sleep and
Yeah.
travel,
Yep.
and so we'll see how this goes.
We might be in rare form, which might be good and might be very bad.
Brace
So,
yourselves.
We'll find out. My question today, and I can answer first if you need some time to think about it.
Good.
Has there ever been a time, and if there has been, I'm going to want you to expound and describe the time,
Understood.
that you have ever been embarrassed or felt shame by having knowledge of a thing. I really understand what that is, or I know the answer to this question, and I'm kind of embarrassed that I know the answer to this question. Like, have you ever been embarrassed by knowledge that you have had?
I am going to need a minute to
You're gonna
see.
need a
I
minute?
love this question. I really hope I can come up with an answer because short answer, yes. If I expound, I'm going to need a minute to think of an instance. I know this like experientially. I can't think of a specific instance right
Yeah.
off the top of my head, so you go first.
Okay, so my time, this is long after I have moved out of my parents' house, and I think I'm a licensed mechanic and pilot by this point in my life. Like, I'm a man, you know. I work, you know. I think we're dating maybe at this point.
Okay.
So I've got a future relationship that is going to turn into a marriage going on. I feel like I'm an established man at this point.
Things are going well for
Yes.
you.
And my brother, he does garage sailing to find toys for his kids. And he comes back, and I'm visiting my parents, or I can't remember if I'm back living with them for a short period or what. Well, I should say living with them. Like, no, I'm a man, but I live with my parents. I rented an apartment space from them. It was rented. I paid for it. I want to hold my dignity of I was a man and I was grown up.
You had to fight them to
And-
pay for it.
Yeah, I did. But so he comes home, and he had found a really good deal on a giant bucket of Legos, and like lots of Legos, really cheap. So he's excited, the kids are excited, and he likes to try to basically pay off anything he buys garage sailing by selling a portion of whatever he buys. So with the Legos, he's like, okay, you can make some money selling these little minifigures, these little Lego characters. He's like, but I have no idea. Like, they're all in pieces. You know, there's the three main segments of a Lego. There's the head, there's the body, the torso, and there are the legs. And everything's disassembled. Like, there's no whole person.
It's
Lego.
a
So he's
massacre.
like, I'm going to have to do some research on all these minifigures and piece them back together and then find out which ones are valuable and sell those. And I'm sitting there, and I'm picking up, like, a torso of a Lego, and I'm like, oh, this is Luke Skywalker from the scene where he's getting a medal at the end of episode 4 of A New Hope. And I'm like, what? Wow, okay. But I did that like so many times. I'm like, oh, this is a Lego Ninjago character, and I'm holding like the legs. Or, oh, this is Nightwing from the Batman Dark series. Like, this moment is so burned into my brain. I'm like, how do I know this? How do I know what the Batman Dark series is and who the heck Nightwing is? Now, I did grow up, my friends, we were a little bit of nerds, and like we liked our superhero stuff. So there is some back knowledge that I had from hanging out with all my friends growing up. But I was still like, I'm getting into it, you know, like if anyone's seen the movie Chuck, or sorry, the TV show Chuck.
I was about to say the movie Chuck.
Where he gets like this computer downloaded into his head and he just knows things. It felt like that. Like I had a download of like, I know what all of these are. And I'm just holding a torso of a Lego minifigure and I'm telling him exactly who it is and what thing it's from. I was ashamed. I was like, I am such a nerd and I don't even know where I got this knowledge. But
That's funny.
I was a little bit embarrassed.
Okay, so for me, I don't know if the shame is there. It's more like a embarrassed, frustrated that my brain works this way. But you know those times when you tell a joke to a friend and that friend is smart and very brainy and like pulls apart the joke to like, no, but that doesn't make sense because this, and like it's not funny anymore.
I think it was primarily you who had those friends from the stories I've heard.
Well,
apparently when you grow up with people who do classical conversations, you grow up with a bunch of nerds who like to argue and break things down.
so I married you.
Yeah. Yep, there we go.
Anyway, I would get very frustrated, well, sometimes, when I would try to tell a funny and they were too smart for it. I feel like I am that person when it comes to certain things, and I get frustrated, embarrassed, because I want to laugh at the joke, but then I go too brainy. I don't know how to say this I don't mean this with hubris. I just mean, anyway, this is not going well. I feel that when I'm listening to jokes about the English language. Nate Bargatze the comedian, has 2 SNL skits that are George Washington talking about all the inconsistencies of the American culture and language.
It's very funny.
It's very funny. There is one, though, that I want to laugh.
But
and
you can't.
The joke is that in America we will have 2 names for all kinds of animals when they're alive and when we eat them. You know, pig and pork and cow and beef and all this other stuff. And it's funny, but it's not because I know why. Like, I have
oh my goodness.
I have the linguistic knowledge of why we have 2 names for everything and how it came about. And so that's where my brain goes every time.
So you have like the etymological history of how these terms came about.
I do.
Which short circuits the funny.
Yes. And I keep that to myself.
Please expound.
Okay, so...
Why is pig meat called pork?
So there was in European history, there was a time when French was the language of the aristocracy, if I'm remembering correctly, and the Germanic English, so the Frank French, and then the Germanic English were the high and low languages, respectively. So those of high society spoke the Frank French language, the high language, and then those of lower society, the common folk
the peasants
used the other language, the conquered language. And if anybody, nobody is actually going to listen who knows about this probably, but I'm always afraid that I'm getting the information wrong. So I'm putting it into a microphone and with the disclaimer that I could be wrong. So the high language had a name for the thing like pork and beef and all these things. So the name for that animal in the high language is what stuck for the cooked thing, because that's when you would eat it, it's like high society, it's nicer. And so that's the name that stuck for the banquet type food. And then the common name for it was the pig and cow.
Okay.
Equivalent. And the same is true actually for how we get a lot of our man, this is such a bad podcast, our bad words. I'm not gonna go into that, but a lot of words that are not very nice were just the word for common things that were not, and so instead of the more polite way of saying it, the more common way of saying it became the bad word, if that makes sense.
Okay.
Hopefully not a lot of children listen to this podcast and start asking questions. But it's just the 12 people, our Dirty Dozen.
The Dirty Dozen. That name has become solidified, I think. My aunt had a sign in her house
Shout
for
out
Christmas.
to Aunt Liz.
Yeah, shout out Aunt Liz. I can't remember what it says now. It's basically like, the Dirty Dozen live here, or something like that.
Yep.
Yeah.
It was fantastic. We love it so much. So we thank you, Dirty Dozen, for your faithful listenership.
I apologize, but that is how we will refer to you guys from now on.
And we have okay.
All right, on to the next section.
Let's go.
Okay. All right, update time.
Update time.
Anna, we are just driving back to North Carolina from a Christmas trip week, a little bit over a week.
Yep.
How would you rate this Christmas trip in comparison to other Christmases in the past?
I think it would be a 2 out of 10.
Yeah, it was a pretty rough one.
Would not recommend.
So the day we got to Florida, or I guess the day after we got to Florida, there was a family wedding that everyone was preparing for. I was supposed to have a particular role in this wedding, and I was
just going to be there and look pretty.
Show up for the rehearsal, and I'm like, I'm not feeling great. And just before the rehearsal starts, I blow chunks, and I was in bed for 2 days and missed everything.
And not just you. Malachi got it. My parents got it. My sisters got it. 3 out of the 4 sisters.
The family just started dropping like flies.
Yep. So everyone's in bed within 3 days before Christmas.
missed also my family's Christmas get-together at Aunt Liz's house, unfortunately, because we were still fairly certain we were still contagious.
We were attempting to prevent spreading. Our nephews did end up coming down with it later on in the week. We don't know if we're the cause.
Or
it's just
been
going around, but we did try our best.
Yep.
But yeah, so illness was rampant, and
Yep.
this was a brutal one.
A brutal one. I haven't been that sick in maybe since we've been married.
Easily. A Grace, I had it a week and a half prior, and so I was completely immune at that point and could take care of all the sickies.
Like 6 of us in the house.
Yeah. Another Grace, Malachi was not throwing up,
Yep.
which means I did not have to worry about him getting dehydrated. He just had a fever and was very
Super
lethargic.
cuddly.
Very cuddly. He's
Yeah.
a sweet, sad, sick boy.
Yeah.
So we didn't have a whole lot of fussing going on. He didn't even have the energy to do that. But we saw God's grace in that.
Yep.
Because if I had been out too, we would have been in bad shape.
Everyone was well enough by Christmas Day
We
in
were
your
all
family that we were able to hobble together and have a little
everyone.
Christmas get-together.
Oh yeah, we didn't mention that my aunt and uncle also came down with it before Christmas.
Yeah.
They made it through the wedding, another gift of God, but just barely. Yeah, so it was a sick Christmas.
It was a sick Christmas.
But because everyone had it, we
Yeah.
were able to all get together and celebrate in our weekend state and eat delicious food.
Oh yes.
As much as
We could stomach.
yeah, your deflated stomachs could handle. But yeah, and we made it through, and here on the other side, we are grateful for electrolytes and working
saltine crackers.
toilets. Lots of things to be thankful for. But that was not an ideal way to start Christmas.
No, it
and
was
then the day before Christmas,
My granddad went to the hospital with some heart problems and had to get a stent put in. So he was in the hospital till 27th, I think.
but praise God, he is home.
Yep.
He is well.
Yep.
He's
Everything went well. So that was great.
He was able to celebrate Christmas with us in a way.
Yeah.
I don't think anything this Christmas went to plan.
Which I think we're realizing that might be a theme of the mission.
probably a good thing to
we probably
learn.
need to start getting used to
Learn
plans
how to roll with.
changing really quick, expectations changing really quick.
I will say I was trying to tell somebody it was the worst Christmas ever, and I couldn't justify it because there was so much good. The fact that we did celebrate with almost all of our family. The fact that we were able to eat the food and we were not on the road when we were super sick, and we did not get into the car accident that almost happened yesterday. It's been a bunch of close calls and ups and downs that just are a fact of life, but they all kind of happened at one time. And usually you hope they're spread out a little bit more.
We batch our work here. We did it all in a week. I mean, we were like
get it all
inches away from getting T-boned, basically.
But the other car is fine. Our car is fine.
Yep.
Our kid is fine. We don't have to deal with insurance.
Nope.
No dings or cuts or dents. Praise God.
But we got a
that.
sick video. We bought a dash cam like just before we moved by the advice of some friends, and I'm glad we have it after almost being in that situation.
We were able to look back and confirm the light was green.
Yep,
we had
we
right
were
of
in
way.
the
We
right.
were not speeding.
Yep.
It was just an unfortunate timing
Yep.
from some vehicles. But there was nobody in the turn lane that we swerved into. We were all
Yep.
fine.
It's true.
And it just kind of put the candle on the cake of crazy Christmas.
Yes.
Lots of alliteration there. I
Yeah.
liked that
That
sentence.
was good. I'll have to save that one. Maybe I'll just hit it repeat. It'll just... No, I'm not going to do that.
I think that's not a good idea.
Yeah, you're probably right. So Christmas was something. Just before Christmas, I got to go through a 2-week electrical class, which was honestly a lot of fun.
You were thriving.
I was thriving. I really like electrical, and I've never had the in-depth training in it and theory that I got this time around. I mean, we went as deep as what is electricity, the flow of electrons, and
the theory.
Heavy in the theory. So that was honestly quite a lot of fun. Theory and then the troubleshooting. How to take that knowledge and apply it to, something's broken. How do I then systematically go through and check? What am I looking for? What am I expecting to see here in this part of the circuit, in that part of the circuit? What am I actually seeing, and what does that mean? So that was quite a lot of fun. I learned how to wire two things that were pretty fun. One is called a latching solenoid. So solenoids are used in airplanes for things like the master. If you switch the master switch, it's basically this little electromagnet that closes a really thick switch, kind of like a light switch almost. But you're activating an electromagnet with just a little bit of electricity that then brings these large contacts together because you're running high voltage, high amperage through to run everything in the plane. And we figured out how to get one of those in such a way where you could switch it on and it'll stay and then switch it back off. Also learned the wiring. So if you walk into a room and there's multiple light switches in the room, you can turn one light switch on and the light will come on. Then you can walk over to the other light switch and basically turn it on as well, but it'll turn the light off.
Right.
So you have two switches that both fully control the system.
Okay.
We basically learned how to do stuff like that. It was very fun.
You came home excited every
Yep.
evening, which is nice. It's nice to have a excited Philip.
Yeah, it was. I very much enjoyed that class.
Let's see what else.
I guess what's coming up.
Yeah.
So as soon as we get back, late, I think in the next week or two, I'll be starting a helicopters class where we're learning all about the mechanics of the helicopters because I'll need to work on some of those as well. JARS operates a Bell 206 and a Robinson helicopter at multiple of their locations. So we're going to have to learn how that whole system works, which I've never touched a helicopter before. So that's going to be very fun.
All new.
And helicopters are some crazy systems because the blades on the top, their pitch changes in their rotation. You have by the time a blade makes it around 360 degrees, its pitch has changed.
And
multiple
pitch
times.
means the orientation of the
its
blade?
relative to the wind that it's cutting through. Or
so like it twists, kind of?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, because if you're moving forward in a helicopter, the blade, I think it's going to be the blade that's on the right is moving forward. So it's moving through the air faster and is creating more lift at a given pitch angle.
Physics is so
By the time that
fascinating.
same blade comes around to the left side, it's moving backwards and is going slower through the air because you're moving forward, it's going backwards. Its relative speed to the air that it's cutting through is slower. So it is producing less lift. So you need to adjust the pitch of the retreating blade so that it produces more lift, and the advancing blade, you need to adjust it so that it's creating less lift so that there's equal lift across the system.
That's happening really fast.
Incredibly fast. I have no idea how that linkage system works, and I'm gonna learn.
Fabulous. Super fun.
Yep.
I am hoping to be able to take North Carolina board exam for speech therapy assistants. And once that's done, I will finally have my license, or have everything I need for my speech therapy license. And so I will be there's at least one child on the JARS campus that I will get to start working with, and I'm very excited about it. We're starting small because I'm still learning the work mom life balance of being a full-time mom and what to do with him when I'm working with somebody else. The grace is that I get to start small and then can build as we go. God knows the timing of it. It has been a much slower process than I was expecting, but it's okay because God's timing really is perfect, and we keep learning that. So that's the update on my end. Malachi, we're gonna have to probably baby-proof our
fifth wheel pretty soon. Because he is like a week, maybe 2 weeks away from crawling, I think.
Yeah,
he's trying so hard. I think that kid can hold a plank longer than I can at this point, though.
Yeah. And with the size of his head compared to his body, I'm not sure if that makes things easier or harder.
I think it's a counterweight, yeah.
Yeah. But I think what's holding him back is slippery surfaces.
Yeah.
If we had more carpet,
yeah,
I think he would be crawling already. But he's going to learn to overcome from the beginning.
Oh, yes. He will be an overcomer.
So, yeah, that's the Malachi update. He is 8 months old today? Yesterday.
8 months old, 19 or 20 pounds, somewhere in there.
He's a precious boy.
Yeah.
We love him a lot. He was a trooper through all of the crazy
Yep.
changes of schedule. Not that he knew to anticipate any of it, so there wasn't a change of schedule for him.
Yeah.
But we were sleeping in different places and
In the car a lot.
in the car a lot, and with a whole bunch of meeting people, not for the first, well, some for the first
Some
time,
for the first time.
but a lot of re-meeting people that
Yeah.
he was unfamiliar with.
Lots of
he
auntie time with your sisters.
Yeah, and he rolled with every new input.
Yep.
So we're thanking the Lord for his grace and Malachi for his easygoing
Yep.
nature. His favorite part of Christmas was the tissue paper.
Oh, yes.
Undoubtedly.
Yeah.
He just
Absolutely.
sits
He
and
loves
rip it.
tearing that stuff apart and chewing on it.
Yep. The baby toys. Why do we get baby toys? I enjoyed the baby toys.
You did enjoy the baby toys.
I liked every time he got a new toy because it was like a vicarious, I received the toy.
Yeah.
And to be honest, it is going to be me playing with the toys mostly right now because he doesn't know how to play yet, so I get to teach him by playing with the toys. So we have new ones. My attention span is not very long, I guess, and I get tired of the toys we have. So, yay! Yay, Christmas! Anyway, yeah, that's the update there. And yeah, 2025, we have, I guess, a lot of question marks in it. But don't we always?
Don't we always?
I think James talks about the book of the Bible. James
Yes. the
talks
book of the
about,
Bible.
don't say today or tomorrow we'll go and do this and that, or we'll go to such and such a place and
Yep.
do such and such a thing with
Say,
business.
if the Lord wills.
If the Lord's
we shall do
will,
it.
we shall live and also do this or that.
Yep.
And so we are in that state of, if the Lord wills, we will be
Alive.
to do whatever.
The good works that
Good
he has
works.
prepared for us.
To quote further, I don't know if that's in James. There's Galatians says that. Colossians, I think, mentions it. Anyway, I'm revealing my lack of Bible reference knowledge. That is something that is a bit lacking in my mental bank. Verse references.
Oh, yes. I'm terrible with verse references. I can
not
tell you the
ideal.
stories. I love the stories, but I can almost always tell you what book of the Bible they're in.
That's not bad. Unless the Bible reference was in the song that I learned as a child, I will only remember the words to the verse. And I'll remember the tune to which I learned the verse, but I won't remember the reference unless it's in the song. 2 Timothy 3:16. I got that one.
I don't know. You're doing pretty good with the discipleship group you're in. Doing the verse memorization.
The verses I already had memorized, so now I'm just memorizing the references.
but yeah,
which
you're getting
makes
those.
things easy.
You're getting those.
Yep.
All right, everybody. We are so very appreciative of all of you.
Thanks for tagging along on
Yeah,
this.
thanks for tagging along for this wild ride of a podcast. I hope you don't think less of me.
But I think you all should think about the question, too. When was a time that you were embarrassed by knowledge that you had tucked away? And did you share it? Or did you keep it to yourself?
And do you know why you had that knowledge? Or where you got that knowledge from?
Yeah. I
Yeah.
think this is a fantastic question to ask your friends also. Just pass it around. Everybody get embarrassed together about the knowledge
Yes.
that you have.
Uh,
Very good.
Alrighty. We will talk to you guys next month.
Signing off.
Bye.